What's going on, housemates? Marcelo here, and I'm recording this video after a deeply disappointing 1-1 draw away at Brighton. That now means we've dropped 4 points at Brighton this season. And it was just really poor. I don't have too much to say in this video, frankly. As I said in my AFTV interview after the game, I think this ultimately is down to a lack of depth, attacking depth. And I think that's on Arteta more than anything, right? Because he is so stubborn and so specific about the type of attacker that he wants to sign for Arsenal that we've just been left short. Leandro Trossard played the full 90 today. He was awful. He was non-existent. Gabriel Jesus, yes, he had 6 goals in his last 3 games. But this is a game, again, where he just failed to show up. Jorginho had a few nice passes in the first half, but he was so sloppy as well. Mikel Marino, he assisted Ethan Nwaneri's goal, of course, but he looked very slow at times, and he could have made it 2-0 with a pretty simple finish in the second half right before we conceded the penalty, but he didn't, and it reminded me of the Liverpool chance he missed. There are just a number of really underwhelming performances. Ethan Nwaneri really looked like our only bright spark in the first half, but I think he was actually really sloppy after his goal. Credit to him on the goal, first of all. I think he showed a lot of bravery and confidence the way that he decided to drive towards goal, and instead of squaring it to Rice for what might have been an easier finish, he backed himself to shoot. Wasn't a great shot, and I actually think it should have been saved, but again, I like the self-belief. That's really encouraging to see in a 17-year-old. But after that, I think he was very sloppy. He tried to do too much with the ball a few times, tried to dribble through players. And the one moment that I really remembered being frustrating more than anything was, I think he did well to get past 1 or 2 players, and then he tried to nutmeg someone in our own half when Thomas Partey, I believe, was right next to him. And he lost possession. And, I think moments like that just show where he is still raw. And he, because he's so skilled, maybe he's been able to pull that off on a consistent basis at the academy level. And we saw a couple brilliant moments of skill from him against Brentford. So don't get me wrong. He's definitely able to do it for the first team. But I just think that, there were moments where he showed a bit of immaturity maybe. And the news now is that Mikel Arteta took him off because of a muscular injury. And it sounds like we've lost him to injury as well. So we'll keep an eye on that because that would be a huge blow, obviously. But I thought that the substitution was a tactical one. Yes, he was on a yellow card. And I also think Arteta might have been frustrated with his decision-making, losing the ball when he didn't need to. Regardless, if he had stayed on at the start of the second half, maybe we would have got a second goal. But, I don't want to nitpick too much there. I just think that the second half in particular was such a flat performance. I think it was the flattest performance from us in a half, maybe all season. To be fair, I might be forgetting about 1 or 2 other atrocious ones, but I think that really stood out to me. And so right after Marino misses his chance, Brian gets a penalty. Now, I think technically speaking, it is a penalty, right? But it is hard to say that wholeheartedly because Saliba did make contact with the ball before he connected with João Pedro's face, but he still did his head made contact with his face. What makes it hard for me to say definitively that it is a penalty is that I have a very hard time imagining that penalty being given against other teams. It's just one of those very bizarre calls that just doesn't feel like a universal decision that would apply across the board, So that was really, really frustrating. But, other than that one Marino chance, I think we're lucky to have gotten a point. I think about really that one chance. Was it Minta? I forget who it was. I think it was him. He squared the ball across the face of goal. João Pedro and someone and Mitoma both miss it. Easy tap in. They could have gone ahead there. And just generally, I think we looked far too open. We were sloppy in midfield. We were open in midfield. And ultimately, I think we are pretty fortunate to have gotten a point. But you have to say that the title basically gone now. It is gone now, And Arteta is to blame largely for this. I don't know why Leandro Trossard started. I think that Gabriel Martinelli absolutely should have started. Martin Odegaard apparently was ill and he didn't look sharp when he came on. So I guess I believe that to be the case. But even in that case, right, you could start Martinelli on the left or the right with Leandro Trossard and play Ethan Nwaneri in place of Odegaard in midfield instead of having Jorginho, Rice, and Marino in midfield. Again, it's much easier to criticize things in hindsight. Arteta will know that he has to be rotating this month given how many games we have to play, but it was just poor, man. And I'm not going to over analyze right now, but we just didn't look like a team that knew how important it was for us to get the 3 points or at least go for them. You know, we just I hate to say the lazy we didn't want it thing, but in a game where you know that 3 points is the only acceptable result, there was such a lack of impetus and urgency from us. And it was really concerning to see. So, looking at our season now, it really is more down to winning the Carabao or the FA Cup and making a run in the Champions League. And, to be 5 years in, that is deeply, deeply disappointing. It hurts to say. And I'm not Arteta out. I still think he deserves until the end of next season, as long as we generally can show an improvement, right? We have the same amount of points after 20 games this season as we did last season. But you have to be improving, right? And so as long as we can put together a strong second half of the season, I don't think it's, crisis mode or anything. But, I think that having the same amount of points, yes, we've had these unlucky injuries and red cards and suspensions, blah, blah, blah. But, at the same time, you got to improve on what we had last season. And the lack of attacking signings shows that we haven't really improved in that department. So Arteta does have to take a lot of blame. And it's really frustrating. So I'm going to leave it at that. But I'll obviously be making a video at some point tomorrow to try to, break things down a little bit more. But yeah, not really anything I can say to make myself feel better about this right now. So, I hope you're able to distract yourself, get away from it a bit, maybe, housemates. But whatever you do, yeah, enjoy the rest of your weekend if possible. And I'll talk to you all soon. Come on, you Gunners. Peace.